Today, President Obama's health care reform law, known as Obamacare, faced another legal hurdle. Two federal appeal courts issued contradictory rulings on a key financing issue. Divided court is questioning the subsidies that have helped millions pay for their premiums. One court says financial aid can only be paid in states that have set up their own insurance exchange. But in Virginia, another court said the customers should be allowed to purchase subsidized coverage. Both cases are part of a long political and legal campaign to try to repeal the health care law. However, Obamacare has been criticized, as we know, from both the concept through the delivery and even through the rollout. But when the enrollment numbers have actually surpassed expectations, and nobody debates that, it can only be considered a success by some of the same yardsticks that everybody was looking at it from the first place. Now, Paul Krugman wrote a piece recently, an op-ed in the Times that many of you may have seen, and he said in part, many of the attacks have involved predictions of disaster, none of which have come true. The people who falsely predicted doom just keep coming back with more dire new warnings. And if you look at the numbers, Andrew, that were projected, that were the target that they had hoped to sign up, and if you look at the actual numbers with the disastrous website, the horrible rollout, and all things considered, they surpass it. But more importantly than just who signed up for it, the states that have done it have found far more savings than they thought. And the states that have refused it, who won't even participate with the feds even paying for it, are now, as we saw in another piece today, facing some real major economic shortfalls as a consequence. It's good business. It works. It's not my opinion on this. This is the facts. And you have governors in really fascinating situations who, it's politically popular, say they're against it, but when they look at the bottom line, it doesn't work.
And on top of that, people like it. And so it has cleared the hurdle every step of the way by far more than people expected that it would. People aren't going to sign up. Turns out more than that the number signed up. Well, people aren't going to pay their premiums. Turns out more people paid their premiums. Well, it's going to cost the country money. Actually, it's saving the country money. People are going to hate it. Actually, people like it a lot. And it's these, especially in the states where you mentioned the state exchanges are in place, the people are seeing the most savings and the system is less burdened. And then you go to other states, particularly in the South, where the governors have opted out for political reasons, and the price of healthcare has not declined to the extent that it has in other places, and people aren't happy with the quality of the care that they are receiving. So it really has sort of universally been a positive. And oh yeah, by the way, the House of Representatives suing the president for delaying part of the enrollment and all of this. It's amazing.
And Gene, it's not Andrew and I saying, the CBO came out with a report definitively showing that by every yardstick that was measured, the thing has surpassed expectations and saved more money and paid more money down to the national debt here as a consequence. My point is, how much longer is a governor that's sitting on the sidelines going to say, wait a minute? I mean, Jan Brewer, to her credit, okay? She said, if they give me money, I'm going to take it. We're going to do this. And she hasn't faced any punishment in Arizona. In fact, some people said she showed some logic for once on these things. How much longer can you be a Republican governor and say, I'm not taking it, I'll show you, and then have to explain to your voters why they're not getting care that other people can if they live on the other side of the border?
I think as soon as this starts to dissipate as a political issue, we're going to see the Republican governors who said they weren't going to participate slowly start to participate or get turned over to new officials and start to participate. If things keep going the way that they have been, I mean, I think we have to be a bit cautious here. I mean, you're painting a very positive picture, and I'm excited that it's looking up and better than the Obama administration thought.
But you remember the dire predictions?
I do, and I made some of them, but I'm guilty. But I have to say that I think this is a long-term battle against healthcare costs in this country, and I think we have to see what the response, particularly of people who are covered by their employees, or their employers rather, how that fares in the long term. If people are dumped into the exchanges and don't want to be and do lose the coverage that they enjoyed, that's going to be more of a political headache and problem than people are aware of right now.
That's less than 1% of the people so far.
Well, so far,
and I get insurance.
That's good.
I get insurance through the station. Our insurance rates didn't go up.
Yeah, and hopefully that's the case. But my point is, some of this is a little bit early to predict. Either way, they're going to be solved.
I'll tell you one thing that maybe we can all agree on, which is, so far the numbers are the numbers. Why has the president, with all the heat he's gotten on so many things, they still have not figured out a way to communicate? I bet you people at home, the first time they're hearing that this thing's actually worked is in this segment. They haven't heard from the president. They haven't heard it from his foot soldiers. They haven't come up with a narrative where they put out all these people whose lives have changed, people with pre-existing conditions, kids of parents who would have been thrown off where they weren't before. To me, that's really that messaging that still hasn't happened.
I think it's out of fear for like Senator Mary Landrieu and Pryor and all of these threatened Democrats who may not have to want
You're
to
right,
run
but there's a
on it.
lot of guys that are in safe seats here that haven't said peep, and the president, who's only got a year and a half left, I'm still waiting for him to tout a signature issue. We'll be right back, everybody.